Hey, just a note before this video. As you can see by the title, this is Doug Riggle's last video that he recorded for I'd Rather Be a Buffalo. Yeah, we recorded this back on September 6th, 2024, and we didn't realize it at the time, but a month later, in October 3rd, Doug passed away. There's a link below in the description with more details about that. Um, yeah, it's a bit, it, it's sad, to be honest. That this is the case. He was great, great partner working on this project that we launched here specifically with the podcast. You know, in this video, obviously, we've no idea that this is the last time that we're going to be talking. In this video, you'll hear that he starts making some preparations. He's trying to make some preparations for what he knew was going to be eventually coming for him. I don't know if he crossed all of those thresholds, but he definitely started the ball rolling. And also, you'll notice as the video goes on, where he sort of lands on this, and it's part of why I called the episode what I did. God's got me, because I think that that's where Doug was. So I'll continue on with I'd rather be a buffalo because that's what Doug and I wanted to do was to be able to help out and to reach other people. And anyway, we hope that this episode helps. We'll keep going and keep continuing this ministry that both Doug and I started. And thanks for watching. I appreciate it.
We want to go back to our own understanding, what's worked for us before, but God's got us. God's got me, and I need to be okay with that.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the I'd Rather Be a Buffalo podcast. My name is Kevin Gregg. I'm a creative director, writer, and producer. I have gone through many challenges in my life. Thank God that I've gotten through them with Jesus's help. I deal with control issues, sometimes victim issues. I have sobriety over alcohol for over 10 years, thanks to Jesus. That's who I am. Who are you, Doug?
Okay, so Doug Riggle, I'm a communications and change expert by trade. In my day-to-day life, I am a hot mess 90% of the time, who has come through a lot of learnings over the decades on how God wants to transform my life, and in many different ways, in many different avenues. And I'm still a work in progress, thank God, and I'm still learning. That's who I am.
Amen. Well, thanks for joining us here on the show. This show is designed to help you get through life's storms with Christ's help. On the show with I'd Rather Be a Buffalo, we're helping you deepen your relationship with God, turn to Jesus during those storms of life, and then also ask for God's help and direction for what his purpose and calling is for your life. Thank you for joining us on this show. Uh, Many things to catch up on. I've got a specific topic that I'm going to talk with Doug. But Doug, how are you this week? How are things going for you? Especially as Doug has been, for those of you that are brand new and joining us, Doug has also been on a cancer journey, a recovery journey as he's going through this. But just want to check in, see how you're doing this week.
This is my week 3 of chemo. Next week, I get a week off, although I have a scan to see how the cancer is progressing or not progressing within my body. But unlike past chemo treatments, been a little tired, but not like normal. But I'm also trying not to overdose myself with caffeine because
Mm,
that can have negative implications. That's the
there you
word.
go. That's it. What are you doing to kind of give yourself maybe an energy boost or anything like that?
Making sure I'm working out, making sure I'm getting plenty of rest at nighttime when I should
Yes,
be,
totally.
forcing myself to stay awake until like 11 o'clock. So if I get more than 8 hours of sleep,
Hmm.
then I get even more draggy and just
Yeah.
not really feeling it.
Are you a normal like 8 hours of sleep guy? Was that your deal beforehand and all that?
Yep. eight
Yeah,
hours of
yeah, yeah.
sleep, good dreams, out like a rock.
That's amazing. That is something I'm trying to work through. I'm in the middle of some spiritual exercises and stuff with a couple of other guys right now. And one of the things that I'm trying to aim for is getting that 8 hours of sleep. It's very, very challenging for me with my schedule, my responsibilities, all that other stuff. I'm learning to build it in, but it's very challenging with my schedule. Usually when I get past, usually if I get past like 7, 7.5, I feel like amazing. I wish I could say that was the case. I've got one of these Fitbits that are here that I've been, tracking my stuff forever. And part of it also tracks like your sleep stuff. I am somebody's going to write in the comments, "You're killing yourself." I track my stuff over the last 2.5 years. For the last 2.5 years, on average, I get about 6 to 6.5 hours of sleep a night,
Oh,
which is not good. And it's, and I can feel it. I'm running on fumes,
yeah.
so anyway, but sleep is good. So I'm glad that you're getting that and finding ways to invigorate yourself without caffeine for sure. Good. Uh, Hey man, this kind of came up for me, like speaking about work and all this stuff. I actually just posted about it on X just yesterday, which I think you saw, but um, I had this, and actually, oddly enough, we were just talking about it a little bit in our prayer. Doug and I always pray before we start to record. I had this moment yesterday as I was going through work. Not only do I do, I do my creative director and writer stuff. There are certain seasons where I also have a client that I work with where I help with presentations for school fundraisers. And so this is a very busy season that I'm in as I'm recording this, but also in the meantime, I'm also balancing the work that I'm doing with us for I'd Rather Be at Buffalo. I have other stuff that I do through my other website with kevingregg.com. And a lot of those are basically my two other jobs I'm working on. I had this one moment where I'm in this heavy season of working on these school fundraising presentations. And so you're trying to find the extra energy or the gas to get the other work done. And as I was doing some of my other work for our projects, um, I just felt like working with a new platform that we're going to be integrating into some of our stuff, and trying to learn the interface and trying to learn all of this other stuff, and felt a little bit defeated, right? Like felt like I'm not getting this. I'm lagging behind. You're looking on YouTube and you see these incredible success stories of other people that are able to use these platform interfaces really well and successfully for their projects and companies and stuff. And just had this moment where I felt like, again, Satan kind of coming in and just going, yeah, you'll never get there, or it's too late, or the work that you're doing is not enough. You're not producing enough. Your output isn't enough. And I really could feel it kind of dragging down. Now, what was the thing that was informing me? I'll talk about it here, but I was on a part of the spiritual exercise I have too is also partial fast and abstinence on certain days. And it was also a fast and abstinence day as I was dealing with some stuff. So minimal, minimal food intake that I had, and been a little bit, it had been several hours since I'd taken in some carbohydrates and stuff like that. So, you know, I ended up kind of getting up from my work and then walking away for a little bit, and then just like getting in like a few crackers or some cheese or stuff in that. And then just like all of a sudden you feel like, your brain's starting to work again. But I also, in the middle of this, I also was turning to God in this and to go, this isn't what I do, and the output that I do doesn't also translate into how much you love me, God,
Hmm.
or, who I am in you. Now, that's not to give myself an excuse or a pass, because I think it's very easy for people to kind of go, well, it doesn't matter what I do or how much I work, God will always love me. I feel like God is always trying to push us forward and to stretch us a little bit. But that was also the thing that came to me in my mind, heart, and spirit yesterday, which is to go, hey, just remember what you do isn't the most important thing, right? Or what you produce isn't the most important thing. It's who you are in me and all that stuff. All of this other stuff is also residual and amazing things that come from his relationship, but that the work isn't the definition, and very challenging thing, especially I've been dealing with this with a number of friends where there's some challenging times I have with a number of friends of mine who are going through challenges with work, with
Hmm.
getting work, regular work, all this stuff. And for men in 20th and 21st century in America, and I do think that this is an important thing. I do feel that we are called to be providers, not only providers for ourselves, but also for our families and all that. And I'll tell you, man, that's a little bit of a ding when we're not producing or bringing in, and trying to find that sweet spot in that relationship of how God designed us, but then also remembering to lean on him and bring him into the process, where it is almost like God saying, yeah, you can't do this on your own, but you
Right.
can do this with me. And the most important thing is that, first and foremost, that you have the relationship with me, and then we can build on that together. And the rest of it's residual. So, thoughts on that for you?
The first thought that came to mind was a business thought, because your company needs good organizational change management. Anytime you enact a new tool for your staff to use, you've got to have a good change plan. You've got to have a good plan for adoption, making sure that they can get up and running as fast as possible so that they're as productive as possible. And
Correct.
without that plan in place between communications, training, all kinds of tools we've got in our tool belts for things like that. Um, yeah, so that was oddly enough the first thing that came to my mind. But the second thing, so this past 2 weeks, and we talked about my cancer diagnosis and journey before. Um, it is technically terminal, and in 2022 in December they gave me 1 to 3 years to live. Still doing well, still exceeding expectations, but I also am trying to pre-plan and prepay for funeral arrangements. And I'm in a different state than where I'm going to be buried in.
Mhm.
And there are transportation costs. And I'm also working on a new will and new powers of attorney and putting together a trust so things don't have to go through probate. And the cost of all this,
Mhm.
I'm also trying to get out of debt so that whenever I do pass, no one has to worry about the debt other
Right.
than sell the house. But the cost of all this is like going to be about $15,000
Yeah, right.
by the time all is said and done. And then I've got a trip I'm taking to um, Colorado in October, and we're staying 2 days at a hotel that I wasn't expecting. Because like I got the link for the family reunion here. We're staying at a
No.
hotel, and it's like all these costs keep adding up. And also, I'm going to be traveling to Iowa in November and Columbus, Ohio in December,
Yeah, right.
and have to have a place to stay when I go there. And it's
Yeah, right.
just, I'm like, I've been working so hard to get out of debt, and yet this world keeps pushing in on me.
Yeah, right.
By me trying to do the right thing. That's the hard part. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to do the right thing by everyone and not make it difficult. But boy, is it tough.
Yeah. It's we talked about this last time. Again, the analogy from my friend David Burke, who gave the thing about the full glass of water, and then there's the eyedropper of water. And it really is like you get these eye droplets from God, like going, God, I just not one more thing, right? I do want to comment on this, right? Um, because what you're doing, especially as you're starting to get like your trust and all the arrangements and everything done, um, again, it's a reminder not only for people that are dealing with terminal cancer situations, but even for people like myself or anyone else that has family, that it's a love letter to your family that you're doing, right?
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
we all know this, right? Like as you go through grief, the the sadness and the loss and the mourning that goes through it, it's just one way that you can go. Because I was just talking about this with another group of friends the other day. It's like, what a love letter to your family to just basically have a turnkey situation, to just go, hey, when this happens, press this button or turn
Yeah.
this key, and all the things are set up for what you need to do. Tick, 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 right? A
Yeah.
love letter to your family. And isn't it funny, Doug, that as you're doing this, And as you're trying to be responsible and to do the right thing, that you keep getting hit by other stuff and just go, that's a cost I didn't expect. That's another cost I didn't expect. And just going, Lord, what is this? Like, I'm trying to do the right thing and I need your help in this, right?
Yes.
What do you think the message is that's coming? I mean, is there a spiritual aspect of this that's coming to you as well or no?
There's part of it because I've got the tools now to document everything, my wishes. They've given me some great stuff and to kind of help me keep track of all that. And I need to let go. And even if I don't get it all covered,
Mhm,
it will all be accounted for.
mhm.
And it'll go into a trust so they can pay out of the trust immediately and start doing everything they need to do and pay for things. So even if I don't make it all the way through this, I can still do um I can still go, move forward with it and everything's documented.
It's the little steps forward, right? Like it's just like let me just keep making incremental moves forward on this, even though it seems like insurmountable or just like I'm not going to make it, I'm not going to reach it, right? And we've
Right.
all had it. I've had it with those cycles of debt as well too. I love tracking stuff when I do that. Like yeah, I love opening up documents that show me where I was as compared to where I am now, right? Because I've been in those seasons too. I've been in seasons where I've been just looking at stuff. I'm like going, I'm never going to get out of this. Like
Yeah.
I'm never going to get out of this. I'm in the cycle. And yet I'm so glad that I've kept those documents to keep track of it because I'll look back 2, 3 years later and go, oh, I'm in the complete opposite situation. And all of that, with God's help, all of that stuff got eradicated. And now there was a building up of stuff. And you just go, you just don't see it. Again, this is the big thing that happens with it's why there's so many planting and harvesting and farming analogies and parables that are in scripture because this is exactly how he works. He goes, it ain't going to happen overnight, but it will happen when you show up every single day. This is how I made it. This is how I made it so that when you show up and that you're diligent and that you're faithful and that even when you're not seeing the results and you're still working with that thing, I'll produce that harvest in your life. And you'll just go, oh my gosh, how did this happen? And go, how did it happen? It happened by showing up consistently with faith in God and doing that work, you know, that harvest will come. It will come, you know.
It's funny that you use that analogy because I think it was 2 weeks ago, I had a bit of a meltdown and I just need to get over it. Um,
Sorry,
and
man.
need to God provides. He's always provided for me, one way, shape, or form. And I
That's
just need to
it.
trust in what he's done before and have faith to keep moving forward.
Well, I had that thing, you know, and I'd written about this too, right? There are these things where I'm gonna see if I could pull it. I'm gonna pull up exactly what it is I wrote because I think it exactly applies to this. This is something else I wrote on X on one of my other accounts, but it's the following. Hold on. Yeah, sometimes the best path forward is revealed from the wreckage of previous hopes and plans. Keep going, right? And it's like how many times have I had these moments where I thought like I knew exactly what direction was going to happen, had it all laid out, had all this stuff, and then watched as it just like bam, it just like went completely off the rails and blew up. And I just watched it just all go to pieces and just go, well, there it goes.
Yeah.
And one of the responses that I put on that, some people had been, you know, responding back and forth to me on X, but one of the responses that I had to that was like sometimes when we have that wreckage that happens with our hopes and our plans, it reveals these hidden little gems or these hidden little clues about what's supposed to happen next, right?
Hmm.
And those would not be revealed to us unless everything got dashed to pieces, right? And man, I've had that happen so many times in my life. I remember having a moment, uh, I can talk about it now because there's so much time behind it. I remember having conversations when I was working with the Walt Disney Company where I remember having, high level meetings with Imagineering. And I had like, there was one person that was a higher executive manager that was down there, went in, did presentations, did all this stuff. And she just looked at me and she said, "You need to be working here. Like, there's no doubt you need to be working here." And this had taken me probably about a year and a half to get to this level with these people. And it was like I walked out of that meeting just like going, okay, I'm on track. This is amazing. Right. And then within 4 months, there were some major changes, let goes, reduction. This person that had been there had been let go from
Hmm.
Walt Disney Imagineering. So that person who had been my champion, all that stuff was like let go. No one was left that had had all of any of those conversations with me. And it was gone. Like all this stuff that I've been doing over the last, and it took me it took me about a solid year and a half to kind of like really dust off of that. I mean, it was shell shock with what had happened, the amount of time, energy, and effort that I put into this, and yet, was able to come out the other side, and again, sort of like course correct and go, all right, let's try to figure this out. Let's try to figure out what is the next step that I'm supposed to do, and there's some things that got revealed to me along the way, but I'm also grateful that I had that experience where I was able to go, yeah, man, that's what dashed dreams look like. Yeah, that's crazy, right? So nuts, man. Any other insights or things that you want to share based on that?
Just the one verse that comes to mind, Proverbs 3:5, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding.
Mm.
That's our default. We want to go back to our own understanding, what's worked for us before, but God's got us. God's got me, and I need to be okay with that.
He is taking us into new areas and new parts of our life, right? That's going to be a continual thing. And as much as we want to, speaking for 21st century North Americans, as much as we want to kind of go, well, I want to have my set comfortable thing. I want to have my set comfortable thing that I always know. And God says, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
That's not how this wonderful adventure is that I've called you on. You need to keep coming forward. I've used the analogy before, which is great from J.R.R. Tolkien with the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy. Part of the thing that happens with that, which is, people that have read all of the books, sorry, spoiler alert for stuff that's, 60, 70 years old. But, part of the thing that has to happen, particularly in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, is here you have Frodo and Sam and Merry and Pippin, who are these hobbits that are used to this comfortable life that they have. And they have to go on this journey with, getting the ring of power destroyed and all that stuff. But everything that happens to them along that journey, it's all knowledge and information and growth and strength that they have, because when they come back home, go ahead and find out what happens with the reckoning of the Shire. If you're not familiar with the actual ending of the Lord of the Rings, it happens in the Return of the King. The story doesn't end right after the ring is destroyed. Those four hobbits end up making their journey back to Hobbiton and the Shire, only to discover that while they've been gone, it has been taken over and almost practically destroyed by someone else that has come and caused problems. And it is because of their journey that they've gone on that they're able to come back and to face this final challenge that they would not be prepared or ready for if they had not gone on that journey.
Yeah.
But what happens? We have to get out of our comfortable hobbit holes where we want to have nice and comforting good food and warmth and a nice pipe and nice, chimney fire. And it's like, yeah, that's great, but that's not what God's calling us to. He's calling us to continually grow, transform, and change. And that only happens by going on these, by listening to him and by heeding him and doing stuff that you go, I don't want to do this, or I think that this is going to be, I think this is not good. And God says, trust
Yeah,
me. So there you go.
good stuff.
Right on. Thanks, Doug. I appreciate it. As always, all the stuff that Doug and I talk about, how do we discover this stuff? Communicating, fellowshipping, and writing. We do it all the time, writing down stuff on computers, on journals, whatever. We have tools that are available for you. If you have never journaled before, head over to I'dratherbeabuffalo.com. We have tools that are available there for you to use. We've got the 1 month Buffalo Journal, which is free, so you can start warming up with that. We have the Buffalo Discovery Journal that's coming your way. And we're leading into a community experience where you can join along with us as we go through the Buffalo Discovery year-long journal so that you can join along and start finding other people to be able to fellowship with as you're doing your writing a discovery journal journey for yourself. So join us over there. I'd rather be a buffalo.com. And for most up-to-date stuff with what's going on with us, follow us over on Instagram at I'd rather be a buffalo. You can see where Doug and I are, and then you can join us and see where we are on other platforms as well. Um, Thanks for joining us on this episode, and we will see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Bye.